All right, everybody, welcome to Thursday, November 5th. We may have a president, we may not. Same thing, still shot on Sunday. Might have to re record this. We could very well be burning right now, wouldn't really know. But today we are going to talk about election security. By now, we have probably heard whether or not the elections were secure. We're probably looking at the usual 0.003% incidence rate in terms of security. But we're in an unprecedented time with COVID being so active and rampant. By the time we're shooting this episode, 80 million people by Sunday had already voted by mail or turned in their ballots early, which is 50% of the total vote count from 2016. So, gentlemen, do either of you have any concerns on vote security, voting by mail? And do you think that we're going to see a higher or lower incidence of fraud because of the mail-in ballot system?
I'm concerned about PA in particular. Like, I've just been noticing some patterns, like some irregular patterns that could be nothing, but that could be an issue. Like, I'm just from being from Chicago, I'm concerned about absentee fraud in general, because that's just like a thing that's like, it hasn't just happened once, it's happened several times, like in the 80s and in the 2000s. And there's actually a famous alderman who's going to jail right now. He won re-election, but he's indicted and on trial, Ed Burke. And a lot of his wins just didn't make sense absentee-wise, like the percentage of ballots that were done absentee. And so, like, I am concerned because I do think there's a lot of, like, I think there's motives for politicians to cheat. I think there's a lot of people that think it'd be ethically okay to, like, if they can boost their candidate because we're so polarized. And I think there's a lot of special interests in, like, publicly traded stocks that have so much on the line that I just, like, I'm concerned about election security in general. And I think no matter what, if something happens or something doesn't happen, we're going to see this is going to be Bush v. Gore on steroids in terms of, like, incidents reported in debate, because we moved so much towards mail. And I'm not saying that's good or bad. It just happened because of COVID. But, like, people are going to be making genuine mistakes too. And so it's just going to be like, it's going to be a cluster F probably right now during this video.
I will say that we will see a lot more mail-in ballots rejected than any other previous year, but that is only because there is going to be a lot more mail-in ballots because of the current pandemic going on. That being said, voter fraud and voting, voting fraud has always been a very high risk, low reward crime. So that's why it doesn't get committed very often. That being said,
1,000 indictments. I think 1,000 indictments in the last, like.
But if you look at it like true incidences, it's statistically insignificant. I think it's 0.02% or 0.002% is the.
But every vote counts. So every vote counts. Elections can come down to 8 votes, but it's not significant.
But as we discussed yesterday with the Electoral College, I'm not so sure about that.
It can be very, very significant. I mean, Abbott, the Governor Abbott in Texas, is saying he's possibly going to be thrown out as many as 100,000 in federal court. Actually,
LBJ.
They're actually trying to throw it out as we're talking right now. A court is actually looking that over as we're talking.
Yeah, it's not a partisan thing, because I think it could benefit Trump or Biden. And in Texas, my grandpa, rest in peace, like, the last person he voted for was LBJ. And I don't know, like, he told this story, but, like, he still loved LBJ. When LBJ ran for state rep, it was a surprise election, and there were like 600 ballots. I don't know the exact number, but enough ballots to tip the election towards LBJ from his competitor, like, came in at the last second. They're like, we need to investigate and analyze these ballots. And so they stored them in a schoolhouse, and the schoolhouse burned down. So stuff happens, man. Stuff happens.
Well, yeah. I think it really starts with making it easier to vote. I think most people would agree, if I can control all of my money through a bank account on my phone, then my phone should be just as secure enough to cast a ballot. Because if I lose all my money through my bank account, the average person would be screwed, right? So I feel, man, if my phone is secure enough to, cover all my money, of course my phone's going to be secure enough to, pass a vote through. I think we just need to make it easier to vote. I mean, it's shameful that more people vote for American Idol than they do the president.
Well, I agree with you on making it easier to vote. I disagree with you on phones being safe. Like I bug out on phones. I don't think they're safe at all. I think like I'd be for making. I think they should swap out Columbus Day and Election Day, make it a national holiday.
Make it a national
Maybe
holiday.
making voting like three weeks.
That's Indigenous Peoples Day to you, sir?
Yeah. No, I don't want to offend the Italians, so I'm just gonna stay out of that because they're like, oh, Columbus, the first Italian. You can't be. Yeah, no, I'm just staying out of that debate. Just make it a national holiday. Make it a new one for Indigenous people and Columbus. But yeah, then you make it easier. But I'm a big paper ballot person, and there's been fraud.
But I mean, there's only one party that's trying to make it harder to vote, and you got to understand why they're trying to make it harder to vote, because they do not want you to vote, because the vast majority of people in the country are center left.
Mm-hmm. So
I do think it's a little exaggerated. So I think I agree with you. I think there is an incentive for certain, maybe a political party, maybe the Republican Party, to make the turnout to be lower in areas that are historically Democratic. But at the same time, I do think the big problem is the motivation, because it is possible to vote.
Why do you think
Texas? I mean,
you just don't really care. Yeah.
In Texas, you know, there definitely has been what could be perceived as a level of voter suppression just because of things like Greg Abbott fighting for singular ballot boxes in counties that are sometimes 6,000 square miles, like Trump trying to push the postal service away. I mean,
Harris County that is pretty tough to drive from one end to the other. It's like an hour and a half.
So I do understand that there is a level of personal motivation, and it's mailing in ballots if you're suppressing the postal system, if you're only doing this. I mean, personal responsibility with voting only go so far when the level of vote is being suppressed at such a high level.
I think it's pretty hard to argue that like if someone wanted to vote, they couldn't. And like a lot of people might not end up like I'm someone that I'm saving, like, so I'm not judging because I think it could be me. Like, let's say I get COVID, before election day and I can't vote in person on Tuesday, like I can't vote. And so I think we should make it, we 100% need to make it easier, but at the
same time,
I could have early voted. I've had 2 weeks. I could have mail-in voted. But
Trump isn't helping himself because Stanford just put out a study that said as many as 700 people died from being at his rally from coronavirus. So at the same time, I gotta, be like, well, Trump is kind of killing his own supporters at the same time with their own stupidity. So I don't know.
So this is
maybe
kind of balance.
No one died at any of the what's it called, the protests. They just died at the Trump rallies.
Oh no, the protests definitely.
Yeah.
Well, hey, speaking about the protests, I was telling somebody, man, I feel bad for these business owners here in LA because literally they've had to replace their window 3 times. Okay, the Lakers won. Black people get shot, and then also the Dodgers won.
You know who I don't feel bad for? The window repairmen.
Yeah, I was gonna say I'm gonna invest in these. I'm gonna invest in these window companies.
I might need to get the change bucket out for those guys.
Somebody should have invested in plexiglass. Like
I'm gonna make a fortune.
Yep. So it does look like it's probably going to end up going to the Supreme Court. Trump the other day even said out loud, at one of his rallies, when we win or when the court gives me the election. If you look back to Bush v. Gore in 2000, of course, it was a very contentious race. And 3 of the primary lawyers or judges that were involved with that are now in the Supreme Court. 2 of them were actually appointed by Trump. That would be Coney Barrett and Kavanaugh. The other one, of course, being Justice Roberts. Do you think that there is a degree of court packing that is happening to try and make sure that Trump wins the election? Or is this just coincidental circumstance?
Can we take a step back and all agree that Bush v. Gore was Bush be BS, and that was a total rig Bush BS election.
Oh yeah, totally. Yeah, Gore should totally be.
Yeah, and Jeb Bush just happened. Like there was so many people that had like deep histories. Like I swear is like Bush's algebra teacher was like the vote counter.
The deep state.
Like so many people though, like from Baker to Jeb Bush to and this is kind of like I think
Jeb
I said
with an exclamation point.
Yeah, Jeb. This is kind of the crazy sequel to Bush v. Gore. This is gonna be a lot nastier.
The good news, though, is Coney Barrett. What I always call her Coney. Coney Barrett.
Me too. Coney.
It's Coney, isn't it?
It's Coney.
With an
It
N.
is Coney.
Yeah.
And then I'm always a jerk. I'm always like, it's Coney. And then I'm like, no, I'm
The good news is she has already recused herself from, election results in Pennsylvania.
Which I think is going to be fraud. I think that's the one I think that's going to be really fought on. So,
well,
I think I'm predicting Pennsylvania goes
100,000 votes are
Trump
possibly going to be thrown out in Texas, up to 1 million, according to one article in Pennsylvania. This is literally giving them the election by the government, by some judge,
or
by
in
some judge.
voting, man. That's the only safe way. Because because a lot of it is like there could be bad intent, but a lot of it is just genuine. Because
But people shouldn't have to risk their lives, to cast a vote.
my Democrat governor thought we did in the primary.
In 20, yeah.
he sucked for that. That was BS. Because the Republican governor of Ohio shut it down, and we kept it open. That was a bad decision.
Yes, I was gonna say, were there any reported cases of COVID, or was there any statistical significance in terms of spike after the election? Because I honestly
no, because it was actually it was just the beginning, so it was the worst possible time to do it.
Yeah, of course.
Yeah, and then, but no, maybe we could do something creative, have drive in. I'm for. I think I was gonna mention this in this episode or last episode that I hate watching ads of government crap on TV. Ads for anything of government program, or in Montana they had an ad for we do meth. Montana's on meth, and they had ads for that. They should spend all that money on get out the vote, maybe even have drive-by voting, something like that, safe.
Drive-by voting, yeah.
Yeah, maybe polling stations on the go, make it viral.
Leave it to the guy in Chicago to talk about drive-bys. Come on.
Pop a vote up.
Yeah. Instead of P. Diddy doing a rock the vote, P. Diddy will be in a drive-by the vote.
Yeah, no, make it a government program. Hire someone. Hire a few people that are safe, and they take it to people. Or I do think we should be trying to make voting easier, more accessible. But
I still think you should be able to do it on your phone, and those are my final thoughts. Period.
Cool.
And then what's it called? Some 13-year-old in Estonia is going to win the election.
My sister's very nice.
We're accidentally going to end up giving crypto to someone. Remember when they hacked Ellen DeGeneres, Obama, and Elon Musk, and
Sony?
Got $2 million. It wasn't a 17-year-old kid.
It was 200,000.
Still.
But still.
Why are people?
How many people have crypto?
Yeah, well, because here's the thing: is you're looking at we always say individual responsibility, and then people do stupid shit like that, and you're like, do we really trust people with themselves? We should, absolutely, but do we really trust people with themselves?
I'm a big believer that the Federal Trade Commission needs to be empowered, and they're really not doing enough.
Yeah,
it's there's so many scams. We're on YouTube. I wonder what kind of ads are going on before this video.
I can tell you, it's 2 weeks ago, it was Trump. 100%. Every ad on YouTube was Trump.
Oh, that's better than having. Have you seen the people that are telling you to sell money? Give me $30,000 and I can make you an automated Amazon store, or I could teach you to be a stock trader. Have you seen those ads on? They're terrible. They should be prosecuted.
Well,
the pyramid scheme.
Learn how to flip houses with me in 2 minutes or less.
You don't need any capital and no capital. $7,000 pro.
Mm-hmm. And I take $7,000 from 50 people, buy a house, and flip it. You get nothing. Cool.
Well, no, this one guy says he needs $30,000 to start an Amazon store, because Amazon only lets you start one store. So you give me $30,000, I'll start a store for you, and I'll give you the profits.
Well, we're kind of circling back to free speech, right? And yes, that's the dark side of free speech, but however, there's a big plus. So with the good, you get the bad. And
the plus is we exist. We're here.
Yeah,
crazy, gentlemen. Any last thoughts on election? Well, yeah, because free speech only applies to government.
Non-crimes.
That's what the crazy thing is. Everybody's always they took this ad off of Facebook. It's censorship. What about the free speech? And he's like, guys, Constitution only applies to government. Full stop.
Well, no, Marbury versus Madison, which some people don't think is a big deal. I think it's a personal management case, but it's just
that's fair.
My final thoughts are: it's not an issue. The military has voted by mail since the dawn of the military.
The dawn
of the military.
From the halls of
they're only doing it so you don't get out and vote.
The military is voting for the dawn. Sorry.
Yeah. And my thing is that if you're like me and voting in person, there is a risk. There is a risk that we might not make it because the line might be too long, and we're just screw it. or
make sure it's too late now,
early.
but they're going to be bringing pizza. So if there's a website or a phone line,
So guys, if you're
what
watching
we're
this,
gonna do,
I hope you
2 seconds.
voted yesterday or the day before, because then you could fix whatever issues
Yeah.
you have.
2 days
And in
ago.
my state, you could register up into the day of. So if you're not registered, you can do it now.
Just vote.
But if you're voting
vote.
for someone I disagree with, don't.
There
Don't.
we go. All
That's
right,
the
I'll see
message of the
everybody
day.
tomorrow for the transfer of power conversation. Whether or not this is going to be a peaceful transfer of power, I think we both know the answer for that. Go ahead and scroll down, subscribe to us if you are having fun like we are. There we go. And we'll see everybody tomorrow.
Smash it. Smash that like button. See you.